And we have another super chat, Greg Bilotta, for $5. When this shite show is over by Christmas, yes, will you all do an analysis of what happened and how it could have been prevented in the first place? You're talking about the war as a whole, right?
He's talking about the council, I think. So.
Oh, the council is.
Hey, Greg, if you want to know how this could be prevented in the first place, you better pack a lot of meals and a lot of hydration, because it's going to take a long time.
Are we there yet?
That's right.
Are we there yet?
Assuming the most charitable to the council version of this question. So the easy answer is, how could all this be prevented? Well, the Western countries could have identified the fact that they were trying to essentially push their shit all the way to Russia's borders and not done that. That would probably be the only way that this is avoided. That's one. But I mean, also, how could this be avoided? A coup could have been performed in Russia and taken out Vladimir Putin. That may have caused it, but you're just as likely to get some essentially.
Okay, Lindsay. Go get him, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Is your wife forming your aluminum foil hat for you right now, there, Scott?
Oh man, are you kidding me? I got aluminum. I got tinfoil freaking diapers on at this point.
I told you guys he wore diapers. I told you. None of you believe me.
Hey man,
that's how come you can sit here for 4 hours without a pee break.
I was going to say that's commitment.
Well, it's also. I mean, never mind. I'm not going to insult my counsel.
Fully Catholic.
I heard back to that question regarding how could this have been prevented. I've heard like on certain media platforms that Russia wanted to move its oil currency to cryptocurrency, so that the oil they produce is it's not tied to the dollar any longer, but tied to cryptocurrency. And the examples they used was Libya and Iraq as points where those oil producing companies wanted to migrate migrate away from the dollar. And here we are today. You got Saudi Arabia and what was it, Iran or one other country wanting to migrate over to the yen for oil production. So I wonder how all that ties, or if that has anything to do with it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts?
No, it's definitely tied. I mean, if we're going to go that far, we could say that Ukraine could have prevented this by not trying to explore their offshore oil and gas options back in 2010. I mean, there's a lot as far as that goes, but the currency thing is definitely chief on here. But I don't know how we could have avoided that.
This goes back to 1994. That's where this really started, and the deal that was done to denuclearize Ukraine with security guarantees and all the rest of that sort of stuff, and then Western governments, the United States foremost among them, decided to use Ukraine as a cat's paw to continue to prod the Russians, and also as a grift box in ways that are becoming clearer and clearer. If we ever get the laptop, deconstructed, then I think we'll see quite a bit of that in terms of what was done in Ukraine as a way to foster a presence in Ukraine that was bound to create a reaction out of the Russians. And they've said it for 20 years that they didn't want Ukraine to become part of NATO, and that's where we are.
Yeah. So
now, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In the chat, there's a lot of people talking about, well, a coup in Ukraine would have solved it. A coup in Ukraine is what started the whole thing.
That's exactly right.
That's how we got here.
So
it didn't just start it; it accelerated it. I think stands right on when you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the dissolution of the USSR and Ukraine and them giving up their nuclear weapons and the guarantees and the shady deals that were made, and then it just it just, so that the latest coup in 14, 15 only accelerated this crisis. So if people are looking short term, like, the last few months, what could have been done to prevent it? Hey, that horse left the barn, has already lapped the ranch, and it's out of the county. So we couldn't put that back together again. This was bound to happen.
I think in my heart of hearts, I agree with Stan. I think going back to 94 is probably the best opportunity to really stop this. But I will take a serious stab at a near term policy change that could have prevented the war, and that would be if Zelensky had saw if he was able to see what was coming. And I mean, Joe, when did you and I first start talking about? I think it was like October, November when we first started saying, I think Russia's going to invade Ukraine.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so
back that far, yeah.
And if two dummies like us can figure that out back then, I mean, certainly the president of Ukraine with his intel service could have seen that last summer. Okay, so if he saw that and realized that and saw where this would go, what could he have done? Well, what he could have done would have been to realize that the NATO ring and the EU ring were pipe dreams, and that the Finland model would have been the way for him to avoid an invasion by Russia, but also remain in power for him to be able to continue his administration. I think the Finlandization of Ukraine starting last summer would have been the only way to really avoid this without going back in the time machine all the way back to 94.
At risk of setting off the chat in my Twitter feed, I'm going to say this again one more time. And also in 2014, not allowing the Nazis to become an actual part of your army probably would have helped.
Yeah, I think that's just an excuse, though. It's a real excuse.
But it is. But why give them that excuse?
I know, I'm with you. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying.
And why would we, as Western nations, continue to support a country who did that with money? Seriously.
Well, look, at some point there's an accounting that'll be done, and what we've seen so far in terms of the number of people who've profited as a result of our efforts to turn Ukraine into a functioning democracy since '94, it is legion, and what you saw with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and the firing of the prosecutor is just the tip of the iceberg, guys. I mean, that's just the stuff that made it onto the media. But the layers of different ways that Ukraine has been used, because, and you guys know that we have exposure there. But I mean, I'm just saying, Ukraine is corrupt. It has been corrupt for a long period of time. And the ability to take care of that corruption while virtue signaling about bringing Ukraine into the Western sphere of orbit, it was irresistible to the Beltway crew, absolutely irresistible to the Beltway crew, and now they've been called out on it, and they did the typical sort of, whoa, we'll defend every inch of NATO territory, and Zelensky is trying to drag us into World War III, but other than that, it's great.
Well, and I just want to do something preemptive here, and before any YouTube censors or anything who may be watching the show afterwards try and jump on us, remember we're drawing our information about Ukraine being corrupt directly from the New York Times, circa 2018.
No, I've got a better defense. I'm just drawing it from personal experience, so that's real. So
true.
So an observation I've made while I was in Central Asia, especially in Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, for example, both countries were playing off the U.S. and the Russians at the same time. So we provide aid, and then for so long, and then the Russians would come in right afterwards and provide aid or do training or whatever the case may be. And it's like these countries, these pockets of countries, and I'm speaking from my own experience, were like two children of a divorced parents. You have mom they're playing they're playing us, and they're also playing the Russians to get what they want. And yeah, by the way, there's a third party. Mom has a boyfriend or dad has a girlfriend. Iran is also, trying to get in the game. And I think right now the whole having control from Europe to China is, I think, part of the end state. We saw this happen during the Obama administration when Russia invaded Georgia. Georgia is a pathway to Central Asia. You have a lot of these countries, like any stands, like Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. They're very much in line with Russia, but they also want to have relations with the U.S. because we're like dudes at a strip club, just tossing money out, and they're dancing. The Russians, they're doing the same thing for the Russians. They're also doing the same thing for the Chinese and Iran. And we easily buy into this because we want to have influence in that area. And the problem is we don't touch that continent at all in no way, shape, or form other than our embassies. So I think right now, man, we're getting played. My opinion is Ukraine is like the rest of these countries. They're playing us on both sides, and now it's time to pay the piper. And at the end of the day, the bouncer, they're wanting the strippers wanting the bouncer to kick the ruffians out of the strip club, and it's not going to happen.
I got to tell you, from now on, Looking Over is going to be explaining these geopolitical issues for us, because that was the best breakdown I've seen into real terms. No, seriously, into real terms that people can understand, and that's
thoroughly
legit.
Barney
We
style.
are the dude at the stripper throwing money at everything.
So we're not going to get any stripper love.
And that's it. And we're hoping for that. And we know it's not ever going to happen. The stripper's not going to meet you in the parking lot. I mean, it's just.
Well, I don't know. Hunter Biden had that covered for a while, didn't he? Isn't there? So.
Well, that's true.
Well, I'm telling you right now, Cherry is Ukraine, and she was on the poll, and the U.S. and Russia was sitting there just making it rain,
I had a meme for this.
Well, on the poll, don't we?
You're absolutely right. I mean, our foreign policy in that area has been to be the ATM for that region.
Yeah.
In an attempt to buy influence without actually putting a footprint in there. Yeah. And so we rotate through administrations. We go hot and cold on the region. One administration it's important, and the next administration it's not important. And the same thing's going on in the Middle East right now. And so those people whose interests are opposed to us understand the fact that the longevity of their commitment to reestablishing their position in that part of the world is going to win out.
Yeah. Afghanistan was an important investment for the U.S. Had we kept a functional government in place, and the rest of the region didn't want that. No one wants a functional Afghanistan, especially with the U.S., because that was our biggest footprint in the area. And that's true. Without that footprint, look who's flexing. I mean, that's a major flex by Russia to go this long on Ukraine, and they did it knowingly that they only have one front to fight from, to worry about, and that's the Western Front in Europe. So, with us in Afghanistan, now they have to worry about the spread of influence in that region. And I honestly feel that, and I'm not really smart on these foreign matters, that Pakistan and Iran and Russia and China were heavily, I have nothing to substantiate this, but I think that they were paying a bill for the Taliban. That's just me. And that's my tinfoil hat, but at the end of the day, that's how I feel about it.
No, you're so spot on.
Yeah, I mean,
Right on the head.
yeah, the bagman for that entire trade was Pakistan.
We will now go into the executive session into the tactical skiff, and we will discuss this further.